Aloha everyone, welcome back to 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, an annual Halloween event that honors the art of ceramic mug making. I am the Search for Tiki, and tonight we have an awesome show planned. We are giving away a Beachcomber Monkey Mug designed by Tiki Tony and produced in the US by the Shrunken Monkey, who will be joining us later this week. It was released through Tikiland Trading Co, and I believe it is sold out. So that's exciting. We're also excited to talk to the man behind the mug, Tiki Tony. He's going to be joining us for an interview tonight. We're also going to be giving away a couple things from our sponsors. There's some of my favorite giveaways that we've done thus far. The Black Lagoon rum, this pin, which is this giant monkey hand holding a little tiny cocktail with a banana garnish. We're going to be giving this away on the live stream. We're also going to be giving away this glass cocktail straw from Surfside Sips with a little black cat on it, which is perfect because Tiki Tony actually just released a Halloween cat mug, so that's cool. Add class with glass with Surfside Sips. He's removing plastic from the oceans by having you use glass cocktail straws at your home tiki bar. With that said, I'm excited to talk to Tony. I have so many questions. Let's see if we can get him in here.
Ahoy!
How's it going, man?
Good. I was just watching you live.
That's so funny. What a coincidence.
Yeah, what a coincidence. Sorry, was that delayed on my end?
No?
Oh, okay. All right.
No? But you're in your
Hear me
shack.
okay.
How do you have signal in your shack?
I'm just on cell right now. I think there is Wi-Fi out here, but I wasn't sure if that would make it spotty.
You got a pretty good connection out there.
Okay, good.
Yeah. You're looking good. So how's life, dude?
Good. Thanks for having me on, by the way. Appreciate it.
Thanks for agreeing to come on. I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been a big fan of your work. My first tiki mug was from Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar, as
cool.
with many mugs. And then from there, I discovered Tiki Tony.
Cool.
And you were kind of my segue into falling in love with a lot of different artists. Ikambukum with the Tangaroa Babies and Diablo with the Jungle Boat. So
Awesome.
I'm super excited to talk to you. I'm also excited. It was so cool to see that you had an opportunity to design a exhibit for Club 33, which for a lot of people, like just getting into Club 33 is a mind-blowing experience. How was that? How did it come about?
That was a trip. So the manager for Club 33, James, he's a Tiki fan, and he reached out to me. He had seen Adventureland Day stuff, and he was like, "Hey, would you want to work together sometime?" And I was like, "Of course." I'm like, we're like huge Disneyland fans. So at first it was going to be a mug, and I was like so pumped on that. I was like super stoked. And then my dad passed away, and I had to kind of like shelve everything for a while. And he gave me time to kind of deal with that. But then he kind of came back and was like, "Hey, would you want to design it was Tiki Takeover, but then they changed the name." And so he asked if I wanted to design the kind of facade for that going into there. So I was like, "Oh man, thank you." So I came up with this idea of like stacked crates, and it was, I can't remember, initially it was to honor Jungle Cruise and Tiki Room.
Of course, the two greats.
Yeah. Oh, and then Indy. So then,
yeah.
So I designed these crates that were stacked, and they just looked like crates when you walked in. There was other decor, kind of like how it ended up. But then if you peeked inside the crates, there were these dioramas of little carved driftwood versions of the ride. So I had like designed a little Indiana Jones vehicle with like little people in it on the little rope swing bridge with like the skulls all around it. And I was going to have like little
I don't know if I've even seen those. That sounds awesome.
Oh man. Someday I'll probably still make it because it's like, it's one of those things I will always want to do.
How much time did you have to like throw it all together?
So the one that just happened this summer, my dog Captain just came in. If you hear heavy breathing, that's not me. It's my dog.
It's the dog. Well, let's be real. The captain is the true star of your Instagram. Who cares about that Tony guy? I want to see more of the captain.
I know everybody loves the Captain. Um, what were we talking about?
Club 33 and how much time you had to like.
Oh yeah, so gosh, he you know, with because they had kind of, you know, reopened not that long before, and he was busy with a lot of stuff, and they were doing the Tiki Takeover thing, and he goes, "Hey, in like 4 weeks, we're gonna have this event. Can you pull something off?" I was just like, "Oh my god, yeah!" So I kind of dropped everything for a few weeks and did that, and it was, you know, basically what he came to me and he said, "Can you do Jose and Rosita?" And then I think that was it, and then two of the other white cockatiel parrots.
Yeah.
So at one of them, like he had me name Brittany. It was for someone who works there, and I think people thought it was Britney Spears. so they ended up taking
like Britney Spears.
I don't know anything about her. So they ended up taking that nameplate off. I had noticed. So that was pretty funny.
That's good, and that's not the first time you've had something in a Disney property. You're also obviously famous for having your print on the top shelf of Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar. How did that come about?
That was yeah, that was like a huge, awesome thing that just kind of happened to happen. Big Toe was putting on an art show. It was a headhunter themed art show, and it was in
Is that something
Anaheim.
that just happens all the time in California? I'm from New Hampshire. We don't have headhunting shows here.
Yeah, we are lucky with a lot of good art shows here. So yeah, I literally I had painted a thing for it, and we were just leaving. I think at the time I was still teaching, so I remember pulling up, or we were in front of the house, and I ran back in the house because I'm like, oh, this other painting might work as well. So I grabbed it last minute, and we went down straight to the show, dropped it off, and then we were invited over to Kevin and Jody's house, who they design all the parades and everything, and they design amazing stuff. We went to their house, and then that's where I met Trader Brandon for the first time, right before the art show. So another crazy thing at Kevin and Jody's house, they were working on the pirate or the ship in a barrel effect. That's at Sam's. It was
they
there.
Did a lot of Trader Sam's. I remember seeing them like up on the bar, like hanging the tikis the columns.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super cool, like seeing it sitting there at their bench. And I, you know, at the time I didn't really know what Trader Sam's even was going to be. We just knew there was a tiki bar going in, and then yeah, it ended up what it is. But it was super cool. So then, yeah, I found out afterwards. I think it was Kevin, or maybe it was Big Toe came in and was like, "Hey, I think the guy from Trader Sam's, the Disney bar, bought your painting." I'm like, "No way!" And then I think it was a few weeks later, maybe he emailed me about something, and then we kind of became friends. And then it turned out like we were living in the same town in Ventura County, but we didn't know that till years later when he had already moved away.
This is Brandon.
So that was a trip.
Was that Trader Brandon?
Yeah, that was Trader Brandon. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you see, like, did someone take a photo and send it to you, or did, like, the first time you saw it in Trader Sam's, was it in person?
No, someone took a photo. Yeah. I can't remember who the first person was. Yeah. And I at that time, we weren't going to Disneyland that much. You know, we didn't start going to Disneyland more often until we had kids. We would just maybe go once a year. I went with friends who he worked for Disney, so we'd go with him. Oh yeah.
But now, well, before the pandemic, Adventureland Day. That's another crazy thing. How did that come about? So now you're going to Disney every year, and it started off small, but now it's like thousands of people.
Yeah, it grew. So there was Adventurers Day before that. That was started by Rebecca Lord and some of her friends, and it was a day everyone kind of dressed up in safari outfits and whatever. And at the time, I was teaching and then I was cleaning pools, and I couldn't take time off to go often, or I guess it was even on a weekend, but I couldn't ever go. So once I went full time doing tiki artwork, I had a little more time to organize how I did things. And I was like, yeah, Adventurers Day. And they had stopped it. I didn't even realize like 2 years before. So I contacted her. I'm like, hey, do you think you guys will start it up again ever? She's like, no, because people had kind of moved away. So I was like, would you mind if I took it over and, did my own thing with it? And she was like, sure, go for it. Um, so that was awesome. And then I got to kind of design scavenger hunts and decoded things and stuff like that. And it was, I had people come up to me at the event and were like, we go to Disneyland all the time. And this was one of the funnest days we've had, like, because they worked out decoding stuff with their kids or whatever. And I was just like, oh man, that's a huge honor, because Disneyland is like the ultimate in themed, environments and fun, and there's so much time and energy and artistry put into it, to kind of like pretend like we were all characters in that world was.
Yep.
It was super
That's
special.
one of the only things that they like can't control. I always have that thought going to like Oga's Cantina in Star Wars. Like, it's an amazing experience with the cocktails and the outfits that the employees wear, or the cast members, I should say. But the one thing they can't control is what all the guests are wearing.
Yeah.
So like when I go to Oga's, I want to have like everybody dressed up like they're in Star Wars.
Yep, totally. Yeah, and
So,
that was a cool thing I didn't even realize. Like, I mean, the very first one we did, seeing the first Jungle Boat take off, and everyone was in safari gear, and I was just like kind of blown away, because I didn't even realize like what was going on. I just wanted to organize a fun day, and I got a bunch of friends to help, and it turned out awesome, and it was addicting to see people just have fun.
is it going to be coming back? I
Yeah,
know
so probably for this year, probably not, because the ticketing and everything is still wonky.
Yep.
And so I'm guessing probably the following year. But I can't even remember what year.
2022?
What year is it? Is it 2021 or 2020?
We lost like 18 years. It's now
Yeah.
2034.
I don't even know anymore. I look at photos right before the pandemic. I'm like, oh man, I was kind of young looking. What happened?
You aged 30 years and
Yeah.
18 months.
Yeah, there was no dust in this tiki hut before the pandemic.
No, that's a lie.
Even the shack age.
How much of that dust? So obviously, like, I assume you're carving out there, and that's how you get that natural dust thing, we'll say. But how much of that is intentional, and how much of that is just happenstance from work?
It's like almost everything I do, it's like a happy accident. Like, at first, I was like, I gotta clean that. And then the spider webs would happen, and then the dust would stick to that. And then people were like, oh, that's a cool effect you got going. I'm like, oh yeah, it's an effect. But it's just like a happy accident.
I'll own that.
I kind of just went with it. I enjoy it. I always loved on the Indiana Jones ride, going through and seeing the office with all the stuff lined up.
Yep.
And I didn't really intentionally do it. It just kind of like, it's like by liking the stuff, it happens.
What was it before Tiki Tony got a hold of it? Like, was it a garden shed?
So right when we bought the place, it was just a fence, like just side fence thing, and they used it, I think, for people forced like for dogs or something. So then
Okay.
I extended it out and put a roof on it, and I don't know anything about like construction, so I'm just like screwing stuff together. I had no idea. It's super sturdy because I didn't know what I was doing. I like overbuilt it so I can go on the roof and everything. But yeah,
I was gonna say, it kind of looks to me like it's gonna be leaking. I'm just imagining like you carving your tikis, and it's just like a torrential downpour.
there's definitely gaps, because the way I wanted it angled for the yard at a weird angle, and it kind of goes straight out. So I had to do a weird angle. I'm not good with angles. So there's at the angle point, there's gaps, and I kind of tried to fill it with the like insulation foam, but that didn't happen. That didn't work. It leaks.
I'm always amazed. I think I saw you do another interview, and you were talking about molding, like on the sides of doors, because all your stuff looks like driftwood, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
like I would not expect, a piece of driftwood to evenly match up on someone's tiki bar at home. So that's always kind of.
Well, like the new molding and stuff, I just carve from like lumber, but
Yep.
the other bigger carvings and stuff I used to exclusively just do from driftwood. So it was like I had no money. I had there was no place to get big pieces of wood. So I'm like on the beach. So now obviously like the molding and things get lumber yard.
The professional treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you make them look like crap?
That's a time-honored tradition of you know what, honestly, if I leave stuff in here a week, it just like ages.
That's so crazy.
No, but like any antiquing stuff, like you wire brush some stuff here and there, you water down some stain. Yeah, it's gonna.
I'm always amazed by that. Like the art of distressing stuff is crazy because it looks awesome, and I don't know the first thing about it.
Yeah.
It's so funny that there's an art to making things look old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you? That reminds me. So you're Adventureland Rover. I think you had posted. It was Typhoon Tommy and Trader Brandon. How much convincing did they have to do to convince you to let them rust your Rover?
You know what? Like, I think I said in the post, like I was a little nervous because I'm like, I come from like classic car background. Like you get a car and you make it as perfect as you can. And so when Brandon was like, yeah, you got to rust it. Tommy does an awesome job doing rust. And then I realized like one of the oldest photos I had saved on my phone was the Paris Adventureland. There's a Land Rover there that's rust painted. And I'm like, oh, I got to do it. And I remember he was painting it at Tiki Oasis. And I remember my wife coming over and was like, he's painting it. I'm like, oh God, because they were out in the car show. I was in my shack selling. And she's like, you got to go see it. So I was nervous and excited. And once I saw it, I'm like,
did you watch it like as it was happening, or were you like,
yeah.
I'm not looking until it's done?
No, I went probably like it was mostly done by the time I got there, but it was awesome. It went from like it's a cool truck already, but then to have the rust on it and everything with all the decor and everything, it completes it a little more. Because even before the fake rust and the stuff on it, I had it I guess about 3 months or so before that was painted. And people would stop all the time. They're like, hey, do you want to sell it? Do you want to sell it? I'm like, no, get out of here. Like, this is my baby. And then now, since adding the rust and the roof racks and all this stuff, rarely people ask to buy it. Maybe because it looks dangerous. Nobody wants it now.
Speaking of dangerous, I think one of my favorite things about the Rover that I've seen is you've got like a block of dynamite.
Yeah.
You have with you?
I brought it.
Oh my God. So you use that as like the wheel stop, right?
Yeah, as a joke. I mean, when Brandon suggested doing the rust and everything, I was trying to come up with other funny ideas. We were probably texting back and forth funny ideas. And that was just something I drew, and then I just put it together with it's wood, and then I just obviously made it look like. And I love putting this in front of the wheel.
Let chaos reign.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like every once in a while, I'll put it out there, and neighbors going by are probably like, "Is that safe?"
Someone just asked in the comments, does the gorilla always ride shotgun?
The gorilla does, yeah. There's been a few times when people have gone with me, and I will lift him out and put him in the back. But it's a trip. Like sometimes at stoplights, if like I see people looking, I don't look at them. I'll put my arm around and I'll move his head so he kind of looks out the window. And that's a fun. People are like, ah. But yeah, that's what
you do instead of going to the movies. You just go out in your rover and scare people with your
I,
gorilla suit.
yeah, I find ways to entertain myself. Just I was picking up groceries just like maybe a month ago, and I had the back hatch open, and they load in the groceries from the back, and the girl loading the groceries is like, "Are you guys having a good weekend?" I'm like, "You guys?" I'm like, "I'm the only one in here," and I look, and she thought the gorilla was like a person.
No way.
She he had like the pith helmet on, and maybe she thought like that was a beard, or I don't. I was cracking up though.
You actually take that to the grocery store? Like
Yeah.
you drive that around?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's not just for events?
No, I love it. Yeah. And what's crazy, it sat for like 20 years, and then I found a mechanic here in town who worked on it, and like I haven't had any issues the last whatever 4 years of having it. Yeah, I drive
Does
it almost.
California have inspections?
Uh, you know what? Right when I got it registered, I did, but I joined AAA just so that I could go around the DMV. But they
Right
they
on.
inspect it. They don't do like full on safety stuff. They just make sure it's smogged and all that stuff.
You hide the dynamite while you're getting it inspected.
Yeah,
That's an instant red flag, dynamite
yeah.
in your
Well,
car.
and now I have the fog machine hooked up, and I've got a hose that makes it go out the engine bay. So at stoplights, I'll click the button, and people are like, "Is that thing on fire? Let's get away
Oh my
from him."
God. How did you even, how'd you rig that up? Is there space in the engine compartment?
Yeah, you know what? It's a small engine, but there's still plenty of room in there. Yeah, and actually, so I have the fog machine is at the feet of the gorilla, and then there's a hose that goes through the firewall out through the grill.
Oh, okay.
I like to keep my fog machines closer to me
Don't
than the engine. It's
That
probably
way,
all
you can refill it if you need to.
yeah, it's all very dangerous, I'm sure, but
Totally worth it. Does the captain ever go for rides in the Adventureland Rover?
yeah, he goes in the back. The back's nice and flat and sturdy. I just have to I store all the props in there, so I kind of have to push them to the side. But yeah, he enjoys it.
When are we gonna get a Captain Mug?
Oh, it's funny.
There's
Yeah,
not enough there. I mean, there's now cat mugs, but there's not enough dog mugs. Where's the Captain Mug?
yeah. I used to post Captain a lot more, probably before I had kids, because he was our kid before kids. Um, yeah, people have mentioned that before. Maybe now's the time.
I think it is.
I'm pretty sure I've drawn a few ideas. I did like a coloring book. I did. He was like on a surfboard, and I think that could be a little cute little mug, like tiny little surfboard. Him with the captain's hat.
You made it like a book about him, right? Years
Well,
ago.
yeah. So my wife wrote it. It was the captain and the little elephant, and she kind of wrote it like for our daughter who hadn't been born yet, and it was like it was kind of the story to kind of incorporate everything and stuff and make something special for her, maybe when she was older. But yeah, since she was little, we would read her the story, and it's a fun little story about a little elephant and captain and their little adventure.
That's so great. I think it's called The Adventures.
Oh yeah,
Plural. It's Adventures, but I've only seen the one book.
that's
So
true. So we did rough out some other ideas for stories, but when you have kids all the time,
yeah.
just out the door.
Teeny Tal just said he's a model.
Oh, the captain. Oh yeah, she modeled with the captain. She did a photo shoot with the Land Rover, and then yeah,
I
the
love
captain
that.
was there.
I
Yeah.
saw it I think it was smoking in the photo, and you have the captain just sitting so nonchalantly.
Yeah. Oh my God, at the end of that photo shoot, so we were like next to like a little creek, and there's like bamboo and stuff, and it's kind of near farm field, so we're away from town, and like we were doing the fog machine and everything, and then a fire helicopter came right over us right as we were finishing, came super low, and I was like so scared. I'm like, oh God, I don't want them thinking there's a fire. So we're like, we're fine.
Is the captain just like nonchalant about everything? He's just like a chill
He,
dog.
dude, he is so chill. Like when we first we got to pick him from the litter, and I remember seeing him in the photos. He just looks like an old soul dog. Like he had like
Back
saggier
then?
eyes. With oh yeah, as a puppy, he looked like an old man. I'm like, that's the one. And he looked more like a hound, basset hound, than
Yeah.
he's a Vizsla. He's awesome. Like he's always super chill. He's walks with us, and I don't know if you'd seen like the first time we took him to the beach. I took my board out, and he literally ran out and just jumped on the surfboard and like started surfing. It was like I didn't teach him or anything. He just jumped right on. He caught a wave with me. I'm like, like how does that even happen?
That's how you started, right? Like you were just surfing. It's kind of funny because when you think about like there's both you as the person and also like Tiki Tony the character. And somehow they're like the same. Like you're a character of yourself, but you were surfing, you got your shack, you got your Adventureland Rover.
Yeah.
Um, so like you were a school teacher and then you cleaned pools and
Yeah.
then you got into Tiki. When did you decide to go full time? Like, when did you know the moment was right?
Well, so I mean, Tiki was there from the beginning. Like since, I mean, honestly, when I met my wife, when we were in high school in 1996, she had like a Coco Joe's Tiki in her room, and I think that planted the seed. And so, like, I don't think I carved the first Tiki until 1998. Um, but I was hooked on the idea of like living in a shack at the beach. We lived like probably 15 miles inland, so we were like close enough to the beach, but not super close. So I didn't always get to go, but there was something about it that fascinated me, and old Hawaii always fascinated me. Um, so I oh yeah. So I'm like going, my monkey mind is going. So then the Tiki, like I just became obsessed with it. Like I was carving little like driftwood Tiki necklaces over and over. I'm like, I don't even know why. I just like wanted to make them. And then it, let's see what happened. So I found a big log on the beach. I brought it home, and I remember I didn't even have carving tools. I had um, a screwdriver and a hammer. I'm like, I'm going to use this as a chisel. And I did the best I could. And I think my parents felt bad for me. They're like, so they bought me a little electric chainsaw. And then from there, I just was hooked. I was like carving everything I could. And um, I didn't even know there were other Tiki artists or people into Tiki until 2002 when I was selling Tikis at the Ventura swap meet. And someone was like, hey, have you heard of Tiki Central? I'm like, what? No, that's crazy. And then I got to see like Crazy Al and all the like Gecko and all these other great artists. I was like, holy cow! Like I had no idea this whole world was out there. And then it just grew and grew. And I was always kind of doing doing Tiki stuff while getting my teaching credential, and then started teaching. And there was budget cuts for schools, so that I lost my art teaching job. So then I was
the reliable job.
Yeah, that was it. Like I wanted to make sure to have reliable income or whatever, and yeah, that ended up not being the case. But that worked out because I think if I never lost the teaching job, I don't know if I would have ever been brave enough to kind of leave to do Tiki full time, which is like my absolute joy. It's awesome to be able to do this full time. So yeah,
like that expression, when one door closes, another one opens, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you don't necessarily realize what's happening at the time, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But next thing you know, you're looking back on it, and you're like, wow, I'm so thankful that.
Yeah, I was very thankful. Yeah, and when I was cleaning pools, I was working for Aleen's dad, and so Tiki stuff was getting busier and busier. So I was able to kind of like work with him and be like, hey, can I do fewer pools? And then I kept scaling back, and then Tiki stuff was just like, I guess, getting more popular or more in demand, and then I was finally able to make the leap, and yeah, that was awesome.
The leap of faith. We
Yeah.
gotta do it. We gotta do a giveaway. Tiki Rob's asking for a giveaway, so let's do a giveaway. And then I want to ask you, because obviously you make some mugs, and we love mugs at the Search for Tiki. So I want to ask you some mug questions. But first, let's do a giveaway. Let's give away the pin. So this, speaking of Tony's monkey brain, as he calls it, this is a big monkey hand holding a ridiculously small little tiki cocktail drink with a little banana garnish that looks like a dolphin.
Cool.
So I love this pin from the Black Lagoon Room. Here's the question. Tiki Tony has an art print on the top shelf of Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar. Right next to it is a glass jar, and it has 2 words written on it, scribbled in kind of like pen ink. What are those 2 words on the glass jar next to Tiki Tony's print? The first person to comment in the comments will get the pin, and I'll keep an eye on it. But, Tony, I have to ask, so the Beachcomber Monkey Mug,
Yeah.
one of your original things that I saw was a YouTube video of you making pinch pot monkey mugs, and they're like,
Here's a really old one.
okay, so you still have them.
I have one. This is the last one.
Is this like a return to Tiki Tony's roots with the Beachcomber Monkey?
It kind of was. So when I was teaching, my escape for the stresses of teaching, I was teaching middle school art. So I had all these like super enthusiastic kids, but it was like so much chaos. And to kind of like calm my mind after school and on breaks, I would write these stories and draw these images of basically that monkey as a character. His name was Charlie Bibbles, and he went on these adventures with Pierre Riviera, who was like a pompous novice French explorer, but he was afraid. He was like a hypochondriac. And so I wrote all these stories with my wife, and we wanted to make it, into something someday. But that the Beachcomber Monkey, that's basically, his name was Charlie Bibbles in my original story. And I
thought this whole time, because of the Beachcomber Monkey, I wasn't sure if it was like, because you draw a lot of monkeys, if you like were expressing yourself as a monkey, or if it was like Don the Beachcomber Monkey.
It's a little of everything. Like Don the Beachcomber is a huge influence. I definitely see myself as a monkey. Like my monkey mind is always like all over the place. So yeah, and I think Charlie Bibbles and that character is totally just, like a version of myself for sure. I remember like my mom telling me at the zoo when I was little, watching the monkeys so intensely that I actually fell over the railing and down a little embankment. And like, so I've been way into monkeys for a long time.
The scariest, you just reminded me of a memory of mine. The scariest memory, I think, of my life. I was at the London Zoo in Britain, obviously. And I went to this zoo, and they had a gorilla exhibit. And the gorilla was just out in the back, minding his own business. And so I was watching him, but he turned his head, and he saw me. And our eyes locked. And there was just like a moment. And he charged at the glass, and he slammed both fists on the glass, and the entire building shook.
Whoa!
And I was just blown away by the like sheer force, and terrified, if I'm being honest.
That would be scary.
Of this gorilla.
Yeah. They're big creatures. Yeah, that would be intense.
We did have a winner.
Yeah, who won?
The question. So you're getting this pin. The correct answer was Paradise Falls. It's a play off the movie Up. The little jar that they collect their savings in so they can go traveling the world. And the first person to get it right was at Enchanted K Link Room. I don't know if I said that right, but you got it correct, so you're getting the pin.
Woohoo! Girl!
Woo!
all those hours at the bar or else studying the photos. I wonder if
they all paid off. Mama didn't believe me, but I told her someday all this drinking would get me somewhere. And now they got you a pin.
See, look at me now. It's funny. Like, the first probably like, I don't know, 8 years of Alina and I making mugs. Like we hardly drank at all. It wasn't actually until after I started to teach that I was like, maybe drinking's a good idea.
Oh my God. What was your, so I know you made the pinch pot monkeys. Uh, I have it listed on the search for Tiki as your first mug or slipcast mug was Fatutu, if I'm saying
Yes.
that right. Which came first? Was it the monkeys or Fatutu?
No, Fat Tutu was the first one. Yeah, like 2005. I can't remember the year exactly, but yeah, I took a ceramics class when I was getting my teaching credential, and I went to the teacher. I was like, I want to make a tiki mug, and she's like, we don't really do that here. They were like into like fine art stuff. She's
Get
like,
out of
but
here.
I was like so pumped and passionate about it. She's like, okay, like after class, I'll show you how to make a mold and everything. She was super cool and kind of let me do my own thing after that. But yeah, so yeah, Fat Tutu. And then while I was waiting for the Fat Tutu mold to cure, I ended up doing Shrunky and then a little Papua New Guinea thing, which I just called Papua. Um,
Yep.
and then at the end, I sculpted the toucan and then a little monkey, which is a little more rare. I'm looking around. I probably have them in here somewhere.
The ones
But
with the
yeah,
little bellies?
yeah. One of those little fat, the Papua guys has a little belly.
Those are some of my favorite. Those with the toucan, the birds that you used to do. They're so like bright and colorful and totally different from any other mugs. How much of that was you, and how much of that was your wife? The colors
That
specifically in glazing.
Yeah, that was all Aline for sure. Yeah, the first so there was one that just came up. A friend of mine ended up buying it, but it was a more muted tone teal color toucan, and it was one I actually glazed. So like the more muted like antique versions, those are the ones that I've done, and then the bright,
Okay.
super neat, crisp ones. Those are my wife.
Did you keep any?
Sadly, no. We kept one. You, like it has a little crack in it, so like we've only kept the flawed ones. At the time it was like, I was like teaching and then doing pools, so like everything we made we sold, to make ends meet. Like there was stuff on the walls I was like taking down to sell.
Oh no! You got to keep the shack afloat.
Yeah, everything to keep the shack afloat. So
Were you
it wasn't.
at that point? Were you making master molds, or was it all like plaster molds?
No, it was all just one plaster mold. So Fat Tutu was the only one I made two of. So the second big mug was La Cuckoo, and I did make a rubber mold of that plaster mold, but it was so bad that every production mold I made leaked. And I used the wrong kind of rubber, and it was bad. But then this old guy taught me this trick for sealing the mugs or sealing the old molds, and
Okay.
it worked, but it kind of killed the detail. So anyway,
Maybe not the best advice.
yeah, yeah. Making molds, like when I watch Van Tiki make molds and stuff, I'm like, it's mind blowing. Like, because I've made maybe 25 to 30 molds, and they all suck. They none of them look like his. His are like a piece of artwork in themselves, and mine, like, there's like divots where I had to shove clay, and it's like all warped, and yeah.
I don't know how he keeps them so clean either. Like most molds, they look like brown, like they should go in a dumpster
Yeah,
stat. And then you look at Vantikis and they're like white
yeah,
and
he's
clean.
he's got the skills.
How do you? So if you have a mold that leaks, is there like? Can you just like plug it? Can you
So
plug the leaks, or is
what
it just over?
that's what I would do. I would just take clay slip and kind of fill it in. But this guy who used to do production ceramic stuff, he's like, if you soak the mold in a bucket of water and strap it super tight, it'll kind of morph into it. But like I said, we did that and it kind of killed the detail on the rest of the mold. So results may vary.
I wanted to go back to the monkeys because I had another question for you. A lot of your art.
Jeez, you're obsessed with this monkey.
Dude, I like the monkeys. I love the monkeys, okay? Your art, obviously, I love your art. I love Doug Horn's art. Doug Horn is one of my favorite artists. He does a lot of monkeys too. And we were talking to him earlier on the show, and he was kind of like, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but instead of people, sometimes he does like almost cartoons. So there's two styles, the realistic Doug Horn art, and then there's the more like Polynesian pop cartoony style. And he prefers, I believe, to draw like monkeys specifically and animals instead of people in that particular style of art. Do you prefer drawing animals over people?
Probably, yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, animals, there's like an instant character you kind of get from certain animals, and like as a kid, I've always loved watching animals. But then again, like watching people, there's so many characters in people too. Maybe it's easier to draw animals, and for me, so maybe that's why. It's just like, it's yeah, I don't know, and I think certain things resonate with people too, like if they have some sort of connection, like with monkeys, like I see anything a monkey, maybe like you too, and you're like, that's super cool. And
Yeah.
And whereas people, it's just like, I don't know.
I feel like you can also like put them in like dangerous situations and it becomes funny. Whereas like if you put a human in the same dangerous situation, like it's just not funny.
Yeah. No,
like even in like Trader Sam, so the new Jungle Cruise, which I don't mind for the people watching, but they redid the Jungle Cruise and like their answer to everything was monkey, monkey, monkey. And you have monkeys like playing with guns and all kinds of crazy stuff. But if you had humans doing like that, like it would not be funny.
I know. I always thought it was crazy, the one monkey that's like looking down the barrel and stuff. I'm like, I can't believe they had
Isn't
that.
Disney?
It is still funny, but it's still like, wait a minute. Like when you really look back on it.
So going back to mugs.
Yeah.
Going back to mugs. One thing that I don't know about is chalkware. You do a lot of chalkware. How is chalkware different from making mugs?
I mean, chalkware is just plaster, basically. It was like a mid-century term that they used for plaster figurines and things, and it just sounded cooler than plaster. So I'm like, I would look up. My wife and I would collect vintage chalkware. They were like bathroom fish and things that were made in the 50s and 60s, and so we're like, oh, that would be cool to do. And then I have a partial one. And then at Disneyland from, I can't remember when they started, but Randotti, they made these plaster skulls and snakes and everything.
That's from Disneyland?
This was from Disneyland. Isn't that nuts?
They sold that at Disneyland?
They sold this at Disneyland.
That's horrifying.
They had a whole bunch of them. They had tikis, at everything. It was cool. It was a husband and wife team. The wife was the sculptor, and the husband kind of did the production side, and they made all these cool, and they were all glow in the dark skulls and tikis and things. And yeah, it was super rad. So when I started to do the first box set idea, I was like, oh, we can do it out of resin and everything. And then I'd always loved Randotti, and I was looking in the history, and it was made, right here in Southern California for the parks and made out of plaster. I'm like, oh, that'd be so cool to kind of do that. And so, yeah, worked out. And it's the nice thing about it is, like it's quicker than making mugs. Obviously, mugs are super time consuming. But yeah, that's basically it. So it's solid plaster.
Chalkware, you paint, right? You're not glazing it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, true. It's all, painted and then sealed.
Okay.
Not with a real seal, though.
It's sealed?
Not with a seal. I'm kidding. Like the animal. Bad dad joke.
There's that monkey brain again.
Yeah.
One of the chalkware pieces you did, I think Omar Oakwash was asking, the Pumpkinhead Kid.
Oh, yeah.
What is the origins of the Pumpkinhead Kid? Obviously, there's the mug, there's the chalkware. Everyone loves Pumpkinhead Kid.
So it started with the Chalkware. Like my wife and I love everything vintage, like everything, 40s through the 60s we love. And there were a lot of vintage kind of versions of that, and they were also made out of plaster. They would mix like plaster and paper pulp, and some were made in Germany, some were made here. Um, and at the time, whenever we sculpted that, gosh, maybe 5 years ago, there wasn't much, like we couldn't get any of it. So I'm like, I'll just make my own version of it. So my wife and I kind of worked on the design, and then she sculpted it, and then made a mold and went from there. And then when after that first set, that's when I contacted Molder. I was like, hey, could you make a mug from this? And he's like, oh yeah. So I sent him.
Of course, he says that to everything. Can you do this? Yeah. Most ridiculous, complicated thing, and yep.
Oh, I know. He's doing some amazing, crazy stuff. Yeah. So yeah, sent him the sculpt. I sent him one of the molds from the Chalkware, and then even a Chalkware. And I don't even know what version of it he used, because he had to sculpt the back of it. Because when we did it, we just did the front. It was flat on the back. And he did an awesome job. I painted one of the plaster ones, and was like, could you do it anything like this? Thinking like, there's no way in glaze you can get it that close. And like, he made 400 of them that looked amazing. They all looked like they were hand painted with acrylic paint and aged.
Yes.
I'm like, that blew me away when he could do that.
That dude is so wild.
Yeah. And I think even after that, maybe he says this with all the mugs, but he's like, I don't. That was more work than I thought.
That's ceramics.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the definition of ceramics. More work than I thought.
Yeah. Oh my God, no kidding. Yeah.
You have I've been eyeing it through this whole thing, that your bird in the back, because it stands out because it's like bright green.
Oh yeah. This probably too is my alter ego. We have the same nose.
I don't know. I think his might be a little more pronounced.
Maybe a little. Yeah.
When did you start doing the taxidermy?
I love carving these, and actually, I think they were. There's gonna be many things falling now. that
Don't
was
touch
like
anything, or the whole shack will fall down.
That was like a domino effect. I don't know if you guys caught that. That fell. A tiki fell. Anyway, so Dr. Seuss actually, he made these crazy taxidermy heads. I mean, you think of Dr. Seuss as just the books and everything.
Yeah.
But his dad was a zoologist or something like that, and he had made this bird with he used a real beak, and then he sculpted like a wacky version of his character. And I had seen that it was like an Antiques Roadshow, and I think I was in college still, but I was like, whoa, that is so cool. So like ever since then, like I was like, taxidermy was always kind of fascinating to me. I'm like, now I'm like, you can make whatever character you want, and so I did.
And nobody had to die.
No,
except for maybe a couple trees.
No, no animals were harmed.
No animals were harmed.
All my stuff is vegan.
You posted a sketch, or a series of sketches, and one of them stuck with me, of taxidermy, like an idea that you pitched to, I think it was it became the Kon-Tiki or something. It was another bar,
Good memory,
but it was a giraffe one, and it had like a ridiculously long neck, which just to me like tickled my funny bone, because the idea of a taxidermy giraffe neck on a wall is just crazy ridiculous. Have you ever revisited that?
No, I definitely will make that someday. Yeah, that was a fun idea. And I mean, weirdly, I think I had contacted Longitude was the bar. I contacted them. I was like, hey, could I make this for you? And she was like, yeah, maybe hold on. And literally, like, they sold it or closed within like a month or something. I'm like, did I curse it?
No.
So I'll definitely do that. I love the idea of it, like it coming off of the wall at a normal height, but then it's way up high and you have to like look up at it.
I got cathedral ceilings. It's
There
a
you
small
go.
it's a small apartment, but it has very high ceilings. So if you ever want to design a giraffe,
That would be hilarious. Just like a super long. If I ever find the super long piece of driftwood that's curved, like you got 20-foot tall ceilings, let's do it.
yeah. Why stop at 20 feet? The sky's the limit, dude.
Hey, maybe put a skylight in and he comes out your roof.
Perfect. Or through someone's car, you could do that.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, that would be good.
Cut a hole in the Adventureland Rover and have this gigantic
You know what?
giraffe.
I've always loved in the old circus illustrations, the giraffe in the train always was sticking his head way out.
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
So good.
But
I
funny
saw you had
drawings.
you did an exhibit of them with shag, your taxidermy animals, and then in between them it was like some shag tiki prints. What was that?
So
How did
that
come
was
about?
Otto von Stroheim, who does Tiki Oasis. He used to put on this thing called Tiki Art. The first one was Tiki Art Now, then it was Tiki Art 2, and so on. So I think that was either the second or third one. And they just invited all the tiki artists to kind of do artwork, and then they made a book around it. I had no idea they were going to like put mine on either side of Shag's paintings. I was like, when I saw that, and it was I think the gallery was Roque LaRue, and at the time, like, I was way into Juxtapose magazine and reading all about counterculture art and everything. And that was like a really nice gallery, and I was blown away. And it was in the paper up there and everything. That's how I still have photos of it, because I never got to go. But it was, yeah, that was.
Did
that
you
was a
know
huge
like
honor.
Shag at that time? Like, were you aware of Shag's
Oh,
art?
oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Like the moment I joined Tiki Central in 2002, that's when like I was aware of Shag and Bosco and yeah, all the they
That
were
was
like
the
the
end.
first people to kind of bring it back. What was that?
That was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's when you're like, screw this pool cleaning stuff. You know, I'm building my shack, I'm making mugs, and I'm going
Oh
full-time
yeah.
teaching.
Well, I mean, yeah. Like honestly, at let's see, how old was I? At 19 or 20 is when I built my first shack in my parents' backyard. Out of just in the riverbeds down here, there's this like bamboo that grows. So I would go down there, cut a bunch of it, throw it in the back of my car, drive it home, and I really built like a bamboo shack. It was all made out of bamboo, the whole walls and everything. So
where did the shack appeal come from? Do you guys have like tree houses in California, or that's not a thing?
I mean, like there are, but not a ton. I don't know. Like, I think all of my friends growing up, we always loved the idea of like, a cool little shack or like a tree house kind of thing. We never had them. So I'm like, hey, I'm 18, 19. Now I can do whatever I want in my free time.
That was like your rite of passage.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
And now that I'm an adult, I'm going to make my own shack. And there ain't nothing you can do to stop me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever grow up.
Don't. That's why we love your art, man.
Oh,
Don't
thank
ever
you.
grow up.
Thank you.
I had a book when I was growing up. I think it was called The Precious Pearl. And I think it was actually like a religious story. But in it, there was like a rich man. And I don't remember the context of the story at all. But the reason they said the person was rich is because he had a fridge full of fizzy drinks, meaning like soda. So me, an impressionable child, there you go. I was like, when you're rich and you get a fridge, you fill it with fizzy drinks. So that was me. Like, when I became an adult, I was like, I'm not having food. My fridge is full of soda, which in reality makes me look like a bum.
That is hilarious.
Really. But for me, that was my rite of passage. That was my shack, my fridge full of fizzy drinks.
That is too funny. That's really funny. It's funny. I wonder like if I really diagnosed everything. Everybody probably has a story like that. Like you do certain things because of one little seed that was planted early on.
It's really weird, the stuff that sticks with us.
Yeah.
Like whole years of memories gone, and then you read one book with fizzy drinks, and it's like, that's what I remember.
That's pretty funny. What is your go-to fizzy drink, by the way?
Coca-Cola. So I don't.
Oh, there
I
you go.
don't.
That was not planned. I
Yeah,
just
man, that's all me.
I
I I actually so I don't drink coffee. And before I got into tiki and what I do now, I was in loss prevention, so apprehending shoplifters, which is kind of a
whoa.
weird jump.
Oh,
But I
crazy.
was so my mentor, my boss, was a cop, law enforcement, and then he joined law enforcement, loss prevention.
Yeah.
We were going through a Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, and he was telling me the story about how he trained someone once, and he went to order him a coffee, and the guy ordered a hot chocolate. And like, who orders a hot chocolate? Like, you got to be super lame if you order a hot chocolate and not a coffee. So of course, you know, you can see where the story's going. We go up to the drive-thru, and he's like, "Okay, I'll have a coffee, and what do you want?" And I'm like, "Hot chocolate." And
Yeah, it's hard to look tough when you order a hot chocolate.
it is. It really is. But you
That
know,
that's why I never bothered trying to be tough. I'm like, even like when I was playing baseball in high school and in college, I never tried to be the tough guy. I was always like, it didn't stick with me. I was always just the wacky one.
you just gotta own whatever you got.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
be
exactly.
be you. Life's too short.
It
So whatever
definitely
you
is.
enjoy, that's what you got to do.
Yep, good,
That
good.
brings, this is more like a serious question, but there are a lot of people, particularly on Instagram, particularly tiki artists that I've seen lately, that are kind of disheartened by. They go on Instagram, they publish their art, they don't get the response they want because social media is what it is. You know, they're looking for those likes, they're looking for the comments, and it's just not there. Do you have any advice for them? Like, how was it
Uh,
when you started?
yeah, you know what? I was that is a tough thing. Like I remember when I first started, and even when I would start to share things on Tiki Central back in 2002, 20 years ago, and I wouldn't get a response. I just became obsessed with finding an audience, finding anyone. So even back then, when I couldn't sell anything or like no one would like it, I would literally put driftwood tiki necklaces on eBay, and I would like sell anything I could. Anyone I talked to, I would just share like whatever I was doing. And that I think for me like helped me kind of cope with like not really getting much traction out of it. And then, you know, even like, I mean, even in the beginning, by the time I joined Instagram, like I had already been doing tiki art for, I don't know, maybe a decade or whatever. So it was still slow to the start, even though, you know, I had not like a huge audience or anything. So
Yeah.
I think, I think you got to find what kind of drives your own heart and what makes yourself happy, because you're never going to find happiness in doing things for other people. You got to do it for yourself and entertain yourself, honestly. Like I, at the end of the day, like I want to make stuff that I see and I'm like, oh, that was funny. And like sometimes I'll even see stuff later on, I'm like, I don't even remember doing that, that's funny. So entertaining yourself, and it does suck. And like I don't, like if anyone has, I don't know, like people can always reach out to me. I love to help out people any way I can. So yeah, I guess, yeah, do stuff for yourself first, make yourself happy, and then
Worry about everything else after the fact.
and 20 years later, then you can quit your pool job, and then
Good luck. It wasn't 20 years. I hope it wasn't 20 years.
it was. So I mean, I started carving in '98, and I didn't go full time until 5 years ago. So it was well over a decade.
Was there a particular thing that made you like, now's the time? Or
Um,
did you just like, you were like, I gotta do this? I
yeah,
don't know if this is gonna work or not, but.
it was. So the first 2 years, like cleaning pools, was fun. It was like I was outdoors. I was out of the classroom. Like I was getting very stressed being around a bunch of kids all day who, like, doing the art lesson wasn't their thing they wanted to do, and so it was a good escape. And then I just started like thinking like, I have all these things I want to make and do, and these stories to tell. It almost became like it hurt me too much to not do them, so I had to find a way. So I had to do whatever I could to make ends meet so that I could keep the house and
It's that
everything.
Indiana Jones leap of faith.
Yeah.
You're walking out on that bridge that you can't see and just hope to God that there's something there that's gonna.
Yeah, and I kind of worked towards it like the few months leading up to it. Like, okay, if I had to do it, um, make sure you can do it so that if it fails, I'll have something to go back on. So, yeah, just did the best I could and hoped for the best.
That safety net. Sometimes
Yeah.
that's all you can do. But man, it paid off.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many people that, like I said earlier, you're the segue. Like, people fall in love with Trader Sam's, then they discover Tiki Tony, and now they're collecting mugs from all these other artists. So it's kind of a strange thing.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And I mean, I wasn't the first, revivalist making mugs. Like Bosco was making mugs early on. So that's a huge honor. So I appreciate that.
I love it. All right. I know we're starting to run on overtime, so let's do another giveaway.
All right.
Surfside Sips. This is a Black Cat cocktail straw. Ooh, you got your Lagoon Mermaid.
And
Is that Surfside Sips?
I'm drinking out of one of his.
Right on.
Yeah.
Perfect. So here's the question. It's another Trader Sam's related question, since Tony's art is hanging in Trader Sam's. What year did Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar open? The first person to write the correct answer in the comments will get to take home this Glass Cat cocktail straw.
That's an awesome straw. I have no idea what year that was either. And so I got some of his glass straws, and at first I was like worried the glass would feel like you're drinking out of brittle glass. This is like an infomercial for him. But I love the glass straw now. That's all I use.
Dude, I have one problem, which goes to this straw. But my cat, I have a cat named Bruin, and he's obsessed with straws.
Oh, weird.
Cocktail straws. So when he went up for adoption, I was away in D.C., so my brother and my sister-in-law adopted him for me, and they didn't have toys, so they gave him cocktail straws. Well, now he plays fetch. And he will go up to your cocktails, and he'll pull the straw out.
Oh, and, that's a trip. That's funny.
All right, so we got a winner here. But people keep typing, so it's escaping me.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so the winner, before it goes, at Howling Coffin with a K, at Howling Coffin. You got the answer correct. Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar opened May in 2011.
Oh.
So
yeah, I was still
congratulations.
teaching back
10
then.
years ago.
Good job.
Crazy to think it's been 10 years.
And hopefully they don't have a cat that likes straws.
Hopefully not.
That would be a cat burglar.
Okay.
Bad joke.
I know we're at the end. So I got a couple. I got one hard hitting question. It's something that's bothering me. I want to get your advice on it. Women in Tiki. There are so many amazing women in Tiki. Your wife, Wendy, Daniel Mann, Carol, Mini Tiki Meow on Instagram. But if you look at the overall percentage, it is ridiculously small. This year on 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, it's all men, to be honest. And that's personally upsetting to me because there just aren't as many women making tiki mugs today. Is this something that's talked about at Tikiland headquarters? I know you just had Cheryl design a mug. Is there anything that we can, in your opinion, do to try to get more women into mug making?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely talked about Lost Tiki Girl. That was one of the things when they first started doing the events and getting vendors. They wanted a good share of women artists and vendors and makers. So yeah, that's been really cool. Yeah, and then Cheryl's mug is awesome. Yeah, I think I mean, gosh, yeah, I hope for more, you know, women mug makers and everything. I yeah, it's funny. I've never I like because I just come from like, you know, I just make stuff and do stuff, and like I would help anyone out, you know, who wanted help, and I would hope that any women who would want to make a mug, like I think if you reached out to anyone in the mug world, I think anyone would be happy to help. Um, I think I think that'd be awesome. I mean, we need more of that. I like when Aline started helping me early on, like her voice came through in making my mugs, you know, different than I would have made them. So it would be awesome to have that different voice, you know. So I guess like yeah,
I hear
I
you.
wish there was a better
We just got
solution, but
we just got to support the artists that are out there. I know someone
yeah.
just a couple of people commented. Bye in France, Atomic Kitty Susie.
Oh
Susie's another amazing
yeah.
artist. Bye in France is fantastic. Ugly Mugs makes
Oh
great.
yeah. I have one of hers.
She did the little sad sharks for
Yeah.
Hidden Harbor.
Yeah.
Love those things. All right, Tony, what's next? What's next for Tony?
Oh man. Uh, for my monkey mind, I can't even remember, but a lot of new mugs, a lot of fun projects, more fun box sets coming, um, interesting, wacky people we're doing stuff with in the future that I wish I could share more, but it'll all come out and be a fun surprise. And yeah, a lot of like fun, cool stuff coming.
I love it. Where do people follow you?
Instagram's the easiest at Tiki Tony, or there's Facebook. So yeah, any of those channels that works.
And at Tikiland Trading Company. Is
Yep.
it at Tikiland Trading Company or at Tikiland Trading Co?
At Tikiland Trading.
Okay. Fantastic, man.
All
I've
right.
had so much fun talking to you. We got to
Good
give away
talking
this
to you.
mug.
Yeah, and
This Beachcomber Monkey Mug from Tiki Tony.
I love that mug. Yeah, Shrunken Monkey did an awesome job. That was another one. Like he did that mug, and it's like it looks cooler than the one I painted. So I'm like, hats off to Dave at Shrunken Monkey.
He makes some insane stuff. Definitely give the Shrunken Monkey a follow. He's he's one of our next guests. Tomorrow's House of Taboo, and House of Taboo, yeah. And then tomorrow, the day after, is Shrunken Monkey. So tune in for that.
Cool.
We do have the winner of the Beachcomber Monkey Mug.
Are you doing that right now?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
No?
Yeah, that's cool.
I think people want to know who won the mug.
I would want to know. I would say hats off to them, but you can't take that hat off. dumb dad.
I'll take my hat off. How about that? My Tiki Rob hat. Okay, so the winner is of the Beachcomber Monkey Mug. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This one ended up being picked from Instagram at Forest Fires 55. Congratulations.
Woo!
You've won the mug. Tony,
Congratulations.
thank you so much for joining us. It has been my pleasure talking to you. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to finally do it.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for joining, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't become an adult.
It's too late for that. I'm not
Too late for that?
I will never be an adult. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, man. With that, everyone, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. Have a good night, Tony.
Aloha.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Bye-bye.